Hey everybody, another episode of On the Paint Table. Is my weekly show where you see what I got done, what I'm working on, and what is coming up. So this week, I finished off another model for my Raven Guard for Warhammer the Horus Heresy. A 5-man unit of Kel's Hounds, just a lance of old school battle mechs from the incredible bits box of Austin Cole. These were all cleaned up, stripped, and then painted up in kind of a modern paint scheme. And an unseen mech called a Falcon. For you bona fide, I guess, Battletech fans, you'll recognize probably the paint scheme a little bit. And this was unseen, as this was one of the mech designs that had to be sort of retconned at a Battletech from the first edition called Battle Droids. Which, yeah, you'll see from the paint scheme and the UN Spacey on his laser gun in a second. And I got a few things coming up. I'm going to work a bit more on my Morats. I got an Aeronautica project I'm going to start working on, and some cool scenery for Infinity, as well as another project for my Raven Guard. So I'll share the table and the things that got done, and then what is coming up. So they are together, my two dreads. We have the ranged weapon and melee weapon dread, and if you watch today's little sort of breakdown of those dreadnoughts, you'll realize that I was fixing to try and build them with all the guns. I can show that off now. So these guns for the ranged dread come pre-holed right through here for magnets, as do the insides of the arms. And by conveniently not shoulder mounting them, I can now make all my dreads with all the arms, and they're fully swappable, which is what I was looking for. I was excited about all the loadouts. I wanted the claw, I wanted the drill, I wanted to be able to make a dedicated range dread, I wanted to be able to make a dedicated close combat dread, as well as a tactical dread, and both of these, all of these dreams have now come to fruition. Now, weirdly enough, the close combat arms did not come pre-sunk with magnets the way the ranged one did. There are holes all the way through this. Like, you don't really need to do any drilling at all. You can just put magnets in. In fact, there's even magnet holes for the chest weapons if you really wanted to. It comes pre-sunk on the frame. You just need to get the proper size magnets and throw them in there. But the melee ones didn't. So the melee ones, the only ones that I had to actually drill in the magnet hole, but it wasn't really a big deal. Just, it's plastic, glued together, let it set nicely, drill them in, and you're ready to rock and roll. So both these dreads now able to field any arm configuration they want. I went with a different chest plate, gave them the groin plate with the laurel, the chest plate with the thunderbolts, and the cool spiky halo, as well as a slightly different paint scheme, less white on this guy. And then some decals from the Raven Guard Forge World decal sheet, and this guy's ready to rock and roll. So he was primed Abaddon black, airbrushed Corvus black on the raised details, airbrushed little Mornfang and a little Goldfag brown on the feet there to give him some weathering. Then a little Iron Warriors for all the metallics, some Nuln Oil Gloss, because I still have a stash of that, and some Warplock Bronze for all of these sort of like mechanically bits. That is Old Hawk Turquoise for the lights on the Grav Cannon, blended up through Old Ice Blue. And then it is Mephiston Red, Wild Rider for the eyes, and a bit of white. Edged with Demonette Hide, gives that kind of nice purple. Not Demonette Hide, Warp Fiend Gray. Whatever. It must be so confusing for you guys sometimes, because I'll shout out paint names that are like 15 or 20 years old. So if it's confusing for you, imagine how confusing it is for me having to Time Lord my way through all the different various paint names GW's released. But I'm super happy with them, I'll be honest. It was great to be able to basically get exactly what I wanted and have fully swappable dreads, because I have a Talon of 2. If I'm using the Decapitation Strike for the Raven Guard, that means I only get a single heavy support choice, and 2 Leviathans fits that build pretty nicely, let me tell you. So they're all done up and ready for the table. Here's my old school Battletech for the week, my sweet Kel's Hounds. People said originally I was going to paint them as Wolf's Dragoons, but as like I think it's the Delta Company or something like that, which are all in red, but people complained they weren't gray, so I just I hadn't put any symbols on them, so I just sort of renamed them all as Kel's Hounds. I painted up the original plastic, well, it's actually the original metal Ralpartha cast in plastic Crusader. He's so teeny tiny for a Crusader. The actually very cool Battlemaster. I actually quite like this. These are all plastic casts of some of the original Ralpartha medals that I cleaned up. The Thunderbolt, who's just charming. I mean, he's arguably not a great sculpt, but he's also an incredibly great sculpt just by virtue of how charming he is. You can see here, I just kind of incorporated the piping into the details because this is where the vents are. to push the plastic into the mold. And then an archer who is so small scale. I mean, this is a 70-ton mech next to a, oh geez, I can't remember how many the Crusaders, but it's not 70 tons. I think he's actually the heaviest one here. The Battlemaster might be slightly heavier. I don't fully remember all the tonnage on guys, but from visual readouts there, the archer is not nearly as big. They were primed with Mephiston red spray. I washed them with that new Bloodletter shade, and then the details were all done in, I actually used scale 75 black metal for the weapons and stuff, and then Corvus black for all the black details. Washed all the bit of, again, Nuln Oil, and then picked out details with some Wild Rider, I think, and Fire Dragon Crimson. This guy was done up in the new White Scar primer and given the Soul Blight Gray contrast paint wash, and then a bit of the Black Legion contrast paint for his weapon and stuff. And this is the Falcon. He's fully tabbed on his base there. There's no bases with these models. And his tab read 1985, which is the year that the second edition Battletech, which is the first time it's called Battletech and not Battle Droids, comes out. This was from the bits box of Austin Cole. Beautiful miniature. I stripped it. Had like a mint green metallic paint job before, but I mean, if you're gonna lean into it, just lean into it. I leaned right into the Robotech Veritech fighter look for the Falcon. It's called a Falcon. I think it's supposed to be a Phoenix Hawk if you're looking at like the modern readouts for the game. So that's what I played him as. And very cool miniature. Just cool to have in my collection. Such a cool, unique take on the classic Robotech look, and a piece of history. And you'll be able to see him coming up in our Throwback Thursday Let's Play for 1985 Battletech. Jay and I ran through it this week, and it was super fun. I want to get the Darpan Xeno Station built in the coming weeks. I want to play a game with Jordan using the Aleph from this box, some Code 1, and then some Infinity as well. So I'm going to get this put together. I also want to work on my Morats. I really want to get a Raziat painted up. The boarding shotgun one feels like he approves of the amount of violence he's going to do. And I forgot my planes, but I have the bases for my next Aeronautica project. I want to do another fleet because I've been doing Imperials versus Orcs, and there's a bunch of new options, so I'm going to do a new Aeronautica fleet. And then I've got some Mark IV bodies and bits in here in my project box to do a Seeker Squad for my, it's not going to be more Dathan, it's just going to be Seekers for my Raven Guard. And then I want to do a Scout Squad as well, but I'm not sure I want to actually put them in, because like this isn't appropriate. I want to kind of bodge together my own kind of Mark VI hybrid armor, and I'm going to use some of these bits. Or maybe you can just use the shotguns and stuff from the Scout frame, but I pulled a bunch of Scout frames to bodge the Mark VIs as well to do some Recon Marines. So there you go, I painted 6 models this week, 1 really big one, and then 5 smaller ones, which I was really excited about. I also threw in the drink. They're currently sitting in the Super Clean, the purple stuff, the original plastic minis as well, which are actually a bit older than the Battletech minis I showed you, and have some very wild scales and sculpts. There's a bunch of lights, as well as a few heavier mechs. There's a catapult, and there's the infamous Fatless, the Atlas that is the biggest of boys, and a giant catapult as well. Scale is all over the place with these ones, but I'm pumped to paint them too. I'm going to give them the same, whatchamacallit, Kells Hounds sort of like treatment that I gave these ones. And then I've got another whole set aside of that for a project we're going to do after we finish the TV show series that Jay and I are doing that will feature the Widowmakers as well. So big thanks for watching. We'll see if work gets done next week. Till then, I'm Ash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.